Hey everyone, and welcome to another Konoha Reviews. Not too long ago, I of course did a video review on the console exclusive Medal of Honor Frontline, and today, it is time to check out its PC counterpart, Medal of Honor Allied Assault. Both games were released around the same time, with Allied Assault being a few months earlier. Back in those days, it was common for PC versions and console versions to differ quite a lot due to the technical superiority of PC hardware. Games like Medal of Honor, Pacific Assault, and Rising Sun are examples of this, but also more mainstream titles like the first Harry Potter game for the PlayStation 1 and the PC. To many, Medal of Honor Allied Assault is the favorite compared to Frontline, but I discovered during my revisit of this classic that this might not be the case for me. Let's dive in, shall we? First and foremost, one of the reasons why many prefer Allied Assault over Frontline is because of the better graphics. The textures are sharper, lighting is better, and small details like volumetric smoke and bodies that actually stay on the floor a while instead of immediately vanishing are proofs that the PC version is indeed the technical superior of the two. The irony of this though, and I talked about this in the Frontline review, is that I think that the character models look very derpy in Allied Assault, and throughout the entire game I never got used to them. I honestly think that the models in Frontline look better, and the saturated tones in that game make it feel more like Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan compared to Allied Assault. One thing that is also a drastic difference are of course the controls. Where in Frontline you had a button that made you stand still so you could aim across the screen with the crosshair, that is not the case with Allied Assault, since the trusty keyboard and mouse offer excellent aiming capabilities. This does show itself too though, in terms of how well the enemy AI can aim. In Frontline, they compromise with you having to stand still sometimes by having the enemies act slowly and miss more. But in Allied Assault, the enemies will often hit you from very far off. What is very cool though is that Allied Assault's campaign is drastically different compared to Frontline, giving you a reason to pick both games up given the chance. Where Frontline starts you out on the D-Day beaches, in Allied Assault you start out in Africa as you rescue a POW. It's really awesome to see a different theater of war in this campaign with unique enemies and locations. It starts a bit slow though, compared to Frontline that of course starts out with a bang. The overall campaign of Allied Assault is also quite a bit longer, probably 1 to 1.5 hours longer than Frontline. After you are done in Africa, you head towards Norway, I believe, to take out a submarine. So you go from deserts to snowfields, which adds to the variety that I praised Frontline so much for. What is very cool too, and I think Allied Assault does this much better, are the so-called stealth sections. In Frontline there's a legendary part where you pretend to be a German officer as you need to meet up with a contact at a German-held bar. You can freely walk around and see how the enemies amuse themselves with each other. But this moment is over in less than 2 minutes, and in Allied Assault, it lasts much longer. You actually even have to obtain higher ranking papers to infiltrate further into the U-boat facility, meaning you actually have to do some exploring around the base. You even have to take out some officers and scientists silently without getting caught. It's very cool and feels very Hitman-esque, which I absolutely love. But unfortunately, it falls short on other parts, like the U-boat section itself. Where in Frontline, the U-boat had an entire level dedicated to its Das Boot homage, here it's basically just 3 rooms. Maybe a bit more realistic for such a cramped area, but not as memorable as the Frontline level. And that was actually something that started to dawn on me. Many levels in Frontline stand out, being very unique from one another in setting, but also what you need to do. The D-Day mission, the mission where you fight in the French village, the U-boat mission, the sneaking into the bar, fighting in Arnhem, on the armored train or minecart. Frontline has multiple levels that you will remember years after you play them, but up until that point, there were no levels I played in Allied Assault that I would remember even after 2 weeks. Sure, the African and Norwegian areas felt fresh and new, but the missions themselves did not stand out. So what about the D-Day mission for Allied Assault? It takes almost 2 hours before you get to experience the D-Day mission in Allied Assault, which I personally do like since it gives some build-up. But the first thing I noticed was the lack of noise and chaos you have with Frontline. It's true that in Allied Assault there are more soldiers on screen in this section, but they're all hiding behind the hedgehogs, whereas in Frontline, you often see a couple running up the beach, only to be shot to pieces before making it to the shingle. In Frontline, the sound design is also top-notch and maybe even the best we've ever seen in the D-Day representation of a video game. Definitely better than Call of Duty World War II, and also better than Allied Assault in my opinion. Allied Assault just lacks the frantic and iron sounds of those rattling machine guns causing death and destruction. The D-Day mission also plays out quite differently. In Allied Assault, you move from cover to cover before the machine gun fire will rip you to shreds for being too long out in the open. But in Frontline, you need to look for fellow soldiers to give them cover. There's a bit more to do in the Frontline D-Day mission, and I know it's probably blasphemy to hear this for Medal of Honor fans, but I genuinely think that the Frontline D-Day mission is better than the Allied Assault one. For the next few missions, you'll be fighting all over France, and there's a few missions that stand out here, but also many again that are forgettable. There's one section where you need to hold a house from a German attack that is particularly boring with you manning a machine gun as only 2 guys at once show up. It just lacks a certain punch, which is just a shame. One thing though, that it does do better than its console brother, is that whenever you encounter a tank, you need to take it out with a bazooka or a similar weapon. Unlike the console version where you need to shoot it with an MG42. Really dumb. One mission that stands out is where you take control of a King Tiger and have an actual tank level as early as this game. Back in the day, I thought Call of Duty 1 was the first World War II game to do this, but its DNA went all the way back to the Medal of Honor game. There's no tank level whatsoever in Frontline, and therefore, this is again one of those things that's very unique and cool about Allied Assault. The issue here though, are the 2 levels before this tank level, which are an absolute hell and are so bad in fact, that they warrant a deduction in score in my opinion. There are 2 levels where you need to get through a destroyed town as snipers everywhere keep killing you in a matter of seconds. You basically have to look for them, but some of these snipers are located in absurd places. It becomes a trial and error slugfest, and I must have died here more than 20 times just trying to figure out where the next douchebag would be that would shoot me. I wanted to see if this level would be also as difficult on easy difficulty, and even on the lower difficulty they still kill you in seconds. It's an incredibly bad designed set of levels, and another reason for me to like the console version more. I did actually look up, and these sniper levels do seem to be quite notorious amongst the Medal of Honor community, so I was glad that I wasn't the only one who was frustrated with this. Unfortunately, you don't go to Holland in Allied Assault, which I was disappointed with. But the last levels do still have one highlight in the form of a fairy tale looking winter town that you need to traverse, if possible in stealth. It's really neat looking and quite open with you being able to pick multiple routes to your objectives. The last level itself is a bit boring, but is fun since you have to head down to a facility where mustard gas is present and you wear a gas mask yourself, obscuring your vision. The game then suddenly ends, and though of course Frontline is also not a masterpiece in storytelling, I felt that the ending there was a bit more bombastic than here. So here we are at the beginning of the conclusion, and I do have to indeed admit that yes, I prefer Medal of Honor Frontline over Allied Assault. Allied Assault definitely does some things better. Technically, it looks prettier. It has some unique locations in the form of Africa and Norway. It has a tank level, and better and longer sneaking sections. But I prefer the look and models of Frontline much more. The sound design is better, and Frontline has more unique levels that stand out. I might be in the minority here, but I really wonder if there are others out there that agree with that statement. I also think that Frontline has aged better of the 2 games. In the end, Allied Assault gets a 7.8. Still a great score, since there is a lot to like here, as I mentioned. If it had more memorable levels, and maybe not that stupid sniper level, the score would have been higher. I will give something away, and that is that I will also do reviews on the expansions for this game, Spearhead and Breakthrough. And I can already tell you that one of them is vastly superior compared to Allied Assault, and one is vastly inferior. But which one, you will have to find out next time.